High Potential Season 2 kicks off right where we left off, with the creepy guy who threatened Morgane's family, now officially dubbed the Game Maker. Morgane's been pulled off active duty until her team finds him, and there's even a cop stationed outside her home for protection. She hasn't told her kids what's going on, trying not to scare them, but his sketch is already everywhere. One morning, while taking snacks out to the cop guarding her, Morgane spots a mail in her box. Wrong address, supposedly. It's close by, so she decides to hand-deliver it herself. But on her way there, she stumbles upon a house with the door wide open and the Lion King theme song blasting inside. Yeah, instant red flag. She rushes to the precinct convinced this was no coincidence, that the Game Maker intentionally sent the mail to her house as part of his next twisted puzzle. The others think she's reading too much into it. She's been jumpy ever since her last run-in with him, but Morgane's gut rarely misses. Daphne runs the address, and it belongs to a woman named Maya Price. Coincidentally, Maya's sister Sarah is right there at the precinct, reporting her missing. She explains that Maya went clubbing with a coworker while Sarah babysat her kid and never came home. When Morgane shows her the Game Maker sketch, Sarah doesn't recognize him, which doesn't exactly help Morgane's theory. Morgane and Karadec head to the club and find the exact spot Maya was abducted. Karadec still isn't sold on Morgane's hunch, but she walks him through the scene like she's narrating a crime podcast. The busted streetlights gave the abductor cover. A shattered perfume bottle shows she fought back, and skid marks from her heels prove she tried to run toward the security booth, where the guard of course had AirPods in and didn't notice a thing. When they find one of her heels at the scene, it confirms it. Maya was taken. Maya bought a gun a few weeks back, so the team decides to search her house. But all they find are empty bags from expensive designer brands. Spotting a piano Maya got for her son from a pawn shop Morgane used to frequent when she was broke, they visit the owner. Morgane, assuming the LAPD has some fund to buy these things back, is surprised when Karadec threatens to search the shop, which would likely turn up something illegal and shut the place down, unless the owner hands over the designer bags Maya sold him. The owner folds immediately and reveals that Maya was arguing with some man the day she came in to sell the bags, and he has it on camera. The mysterious man turns out to be Maya's ex Derek, the father of her child. The argument happened because Maya had been receiving expensive gifts, which made him jealous, since in his words, she's the love of his life. Morgane is sure he's not their guy, but that could be because she's certain it's the Game Maker. Next, they visit the coworker Maya went clubbing with. They've also been trying to get in touch with her boss, Jason, but haven't been able to. The coworker reveals Jason is a spoiled Nepo baby, who only showed up to work when Maya was around. He was the one sending her those gifts, and even gave her the club tickets. The coworker feels awful, admitting she encouraged Maya to go have fun that night. Oh, and apparently Maya looks just like Morgane, because that's not creepy at all. Jason's also facing multiple sexual harassment suits, but that doesn't stop Morgane from digging deeper. She's convinced this all connects back to the Game Maker. Jason is diabetic, just like Spencer, one of the Game Maker's past victims who nearly died without insulin, so Jason knows exactly how long a diabetic can survive without it. Jason is also a painter, with creations similar to the ones hanging in the gallery of one of the Game Maker's past victims. And he's a certified scuba instructor, which is how Oz almost died. So ding ding ding. The Game Maker is setting Jason up while he works on something sinister. Sadly, no one believes Morgane. It doesn't help that no one has identified or seen the man she claims to have met at the store. Selena even starts wondering if the stress is making Morgane paranoid. Karadec, though, tells her to give Morgane space. He's seen her instincts play out too many times to doubt her now. Morgane's been lying to her kids for days, claiming it's family night while keeping them locked in for safety. But they're teenagers. They know something's off. She's about to finally tell them the truth when Karadec shows up. Jason is hosting a party, and they're crashing it to finally have a conversation with the guy. Jason insists he's innocent, says Maya used his credit card to buy herself things, and that he decided to just let it go since it's only money. As soon as Jason leaves, Karadec knows the drill. Leave so Morgane can search Jason's place without a warrant. But then she spots the Game Maker and chases after him. Karadec finds Maya's bracelet in Jason's pool, just as Morgane screams that she's found the Game Maker, only for Karadec to arrive and realize it's Jason. Jason's arrested for Maya's murder, and nearly attacked at the precinct by Maya's ex. Even then, Morgane refuses to believe he's guilty. She's proven right when Maya's car is finally found, and she realizes something crucial. Who called Derek to tell him Jason was arrested? It wasn't the LAPD. It was the Game Maker. He's been behind it all, using Jason's stolen credit card to send Maya gifts, planting her bracelet in Jason's pool, setting up every breadcrumb to point right at him. The Game Maker's plan is simple, as Morgane deduces from the Gucci and Versace bags, whose creators were both shot dead. He set Jason up as the man everyone's hunting, and now he's counting on Maya's ex, Derek, to kill him. Remember that gun Maya supposedly bought? But the team searched her house and didn't find it, only expensive bags. Well, the game maker wanted the cops to tell Derek about the gun, knowing Derek would want revenge for Maya's death. Then, the game maker went and planted the gun at Maya's place, where Derek now finds it. The police arrive just as Derek leaves with the gun, and it's unclear if he'll make it to Jason before the game maker himself shows up at the precinct. With the game maker smugly presenting himself to the LAPD, the question shifts from whether or not Morgane was right, she was, obviously, to how it can be legally proven that she was right. The game maker is a slick, hands-off operator who's had everyone on strings until this point. The game maker's real name is Matthew. He's worked cash jobs, has no record, is an organ donor, and his mother died in prison when he was a kid. He denies all the allegations against him, and it doesn't help that Morgane keeps blowing up Karadek's phone during interrogation, prompting Matthew to joke that Karadek is caught in a love triangle. As Karadek leaves the interrogation room, Matthew asks for Pillsbury cookies. Morgane explains it's a move in chess, and what Matthew really wants them to do is let Jason go. According to her, the only way Maya survives is if they play his game. They release Jason and fill him in on what's been going on, with Derek still not yet found. The whole thing gets interrupted by a bomb scare on a bus. Upon arrival, the team finds a bag with "Hello Morgane" written on it. Inside, there's a timer and a USB drive. The drive contains a video of Maya singing "Bizarre Love Triangle" by New Order. They realize Matthew mentioned a love triangle on purpose during interrogation, but since he's been in custody the whole time, he's made the LAPD his alibi. According to the timer, they have 2 hours before the real bomb detonates, wherever it may be. Interrogating Matthew proves futile, but he insists they check his apartment if they really want to, as he's got nothing to hide. Morgane takes that as a clue. He told the cops he was reading last night, so at his apartment, she finds a book turned upside down on the shelf. A book about Stanislav Petrov, the man who saved the world. Karadek doesn't think this proves anything and believes they may have to let Matthew go. Morgane insists he's telling them this is war, which Karadek finishes with, "Until one of us blinks." That's when Morgane realizes Maya was blinking excessively in the video. It's Morse code. They decode it, and it leads them to Jason's address. They don't know what to expect until their car blows up. Jason, seeing that the police can't even protect themselves, refuses their protection and hires his own private security team. That's exactly what Matthew wanted. Jason out on his own so Derek can get to him easily. There's a talent show coming up at school. Morgane's son, Elliot, plans to participate. Morgane's nervous. Elliot's a bit of a nerd, and she doesn't want him to embarrass himself and get bullied. But she eventually accepts and encourages him to be unapologetically himself. That's when Elliot says, "You have to lose the battle to win the war." It sparks something in Morgane. The main reason Matthew's been playing these games is to prove he's in control, to show Morgane who's boss. So she decides to surrender and tell him he won. On her way out, Matthew casually tells her to take the stairs instead of the elevator. Doing just that, she hears the same song Maya was singing in the video. She follows the sound, breaks down a wall, and finds Maya alive, but at the same time, Derek already has a gun to Jason's head. Morgane quickly tells Maya to say something only Derek would recognize, since he still believes she's dead. Maya brings up the place where they got married, and that's enough to stop him. Maya is rescued and reunited with her son and sister, but unfortunately, there isn't enough evidence to directly link her kidnapping to Matthew. To convince Derek that Maya was dead, Matthew had left her bloodied jacket in her car trunk. But since Maya didn't actually sustain any injuries, the question becomes, how did he get her blood? The next thing we see is Morgane visiting Matthew again. She's learned his backstory. His mother was wrongfully accused of stealing by a hotel guest, imprisoned, and died in jail, leaving Matthew to bounce from family to family, lonely and angry at the world. It turns out Matthew works at the hospital where Maya had donated blood, and surveillance footage shows him stealing it. When confronted, he goes on a bitter rant about how the rich use and discard people. His words are moving, but Morgane isn't moved. When he tries to take his own life, unwilling to die in prison like his mother, she's already anticipated it and had an airbag installed. Matthew is safely arrested, personally taken in by Oz. After Matthew's arrest, Morgane attends Elliot's school event. It's not the nerdy act she expected. Her boy's actually rapping for the crowd under the name MC², and he kills it. As for the Roman storyline, it's still breadcrumbing for now. After learning his last known location, Oz and Daphne visit, but instead find a man named Arthur, who's been helping Roman hide from the authorities, the same people Morgane is now working for. If he's that afraid of them, why not just arrange a private meeting instead? With the game maker arrested, which, honestly, felt like a bit of a letdown given how easily he was caught. The show pivots to new cases. A man walks into a cafe by the beach, all giddy and holding a ring for someone special. Most of the tables are dirty, so he takes the only clean one at the back. The receptionist goes in to grab something to clean the others, but just seconds later, the man is choked with a plastic bag by an unknown assailant. With her broke days behind her, Morgane's planning to hire domestic help to look after the kids while she works. But what her daughter Ava wants to know is whether Morgane has heard anything about her dad Rowan. Morgane isn't sure if she can trust Ava with the truth, so she dodges the question and heads to the new crime scene. The victim is revealed to be Nathan Gould. He's barely alive as he's wheeled to the hospital, with talk of him being most likely brain dead. Apparently he's a frequent flyer, always showing up with injuries, which indicates someone's been targeting him for a while. Morgane examines the ring found on Nathan and questions the cafe receptionist. The woman explains she found Nathan after hearing the sound of ducks while returning to clean the tables. Morgane quickly realizes there are no ducks in the area, meaning the sound came from somewhere else, and deduces that the dirty tables were staged to make Nathan sit at that exact spot. They head to Nathan's apartment, where they find sports memorabilia, but strangely, no sign that he's actually a fan. No jerseys, no posters, nothing. Morgane concludes he's likely a gambler, a theory confirmed when they find overdue bills on his table and a random number scribbled on a piece of paper. While they're still searching, an unknown man breaks into the house but bolts when he sees Karadek. The cop gives chase, and Morgane helps by telling the guy's getaway driver that the cops are around, which makes the driver panic and flee. With no car waiting, Karadek catches the runner easily. They find a syringe on him and trace it back to his boss, Ray, who runs a gambling den. At first, Ray is all cocky, until Morgane mentions the electronic card shufflers he uses to rig games. That gets his attention fast, and he clears the room. It's clear he didn't kill Nathan, given he just sent someone to do it, but the fact that they tried to inject air into Nathan to mimic natural death suggests there's more to the story. Morgane quickly connects the number on Nathan's table to Ray's social security number. Turns out Nathan had made Ray the beneficiary of his life insurance, hoping it would pay off his gambling debts. Ray insists it was Nathan's idea. With that trail going cold, they look at who was removed from the life insurance policy, someone who could have been angry enough to kill Nathan. That person turns out to be his daughter, Jessica, who's shocked to even hear she was ever listed as a beneficiary. They'd only recently reconnected after years of estrangement. When Daphne shows her the ladybug-shaped ring found at the scene, Jessica gets emotional. Nathan used to call her Ladybug when she was little. The cops realize Jessica was the one Nathan was so excited to meet at the cafe. He just never made it. Because someone had sent him the wrong address after hacking their messages. Morgane learns from Jessica that Nathan had told her he was going away for a while, though there's no record of any travel plans. She also notices Nathan had a subscription for specialty dog food, yet no dog was found in his apartment. That's when Morgane pieces it together. Nathan planned to kill himself to pay off his debt with Ray, but someone got to him first. They visit Jessica at the hospital for more questioning, and she confirms Nathan gave her his dog to look after. Nathan is officially declared brain dead, but it seems he changed his mind about suicide after finding out Jessica was pregnant. Morgane theorizes that someone wanted Nathan dead long enough to use his heart for an illegal transplant, and that someone sent the fake email to lure him to the cafe. The duck sound the receptionist heard was Nathan's phone alarm, timed perfectly to ensure his body would be discovered at the right moment. Karadek and Soto confirm this when they question the first responders, who mention that some asthma medication, albuterol, was stolen from their vehicle. Taking Karadek's advice to be honest with her daughter, Morgane finally tells Ava the truth. As of 2 weeks ago, Rowan was living in Nevada, and the only lead they have is Arthur. Ava acts like she's cool about it, until Morgane gets a call that Ava has been arrested for vandalism. Ava had defaced one of Rowan's murals, furious that he was living so close but had never tried to be part of their lives. Morgane gets arrested too after blowing up at the cop who refuses to let Ava off with a warning. They're eventually released, and Ava apologizes, admitting she thought she could handle the truth but found it harder than she expected. With emotions cooling, they turn back to the case. After speaking with the organ donation coordinator at the hospital, who's clearly acting suspicious, Morgane starts to suspect that someone powerful is pulling strings to secure Nathan's heart illegally. She shows Ava the case file, explaining she's looking for an influential figure in need of a transplant who might have pressured the hospital to extract Nathan's heart. They find a possible suspect, Carson Wood, a movie producer with known cardiac issues. He's been posting only old photos online, suggesting his current health isn't social media worthy. Karadek and Daphne arrive at Carson's mansion, just as he's being taken to the hospital for a transplant. They assume it's Nathan's heart, but it's not. Nathan's heart was stolen en route to the hospital, and Carson's receiving a different one in Utah. Now the question is, who was supposed to receive Nathan's heart before it got diverted to Carson? They bring in the organ donor coordinator for questioning, and she finally cracks, admitting Carson pressured the hospital by threatening to pull his funding, forcing them to remove the original recipient's name from the list. She claims she couldn't bring herself to check who the original recipient was before deleting the record. But Morgane does her thing, narrowing down potential matches from the donor list. Out of 6, she zeroes in on one Rosemary who uses albuterol. It all clicks. One of the paramedics, Christopher Bishop Ewan, is actually Rosemary's son. Nathan was one of his regulars, and when Nathan told Chris he planned to end his life and wanted his heart to go to Rosemary, Chris agreed. But when Nathan changed his mind after learning he'd soon be a grandfather, Chris refused to accept it. He staged the cafe attack to ensure Nathan's death, and timed it perfectly so the receptionist would find him. Karadec stops Rosemary from getting the transplant just in time. She breaks down when she learns what her son did and asks to see him. Christopher is arrested, but he shares an emotional moment with his mother, hugging her and apologizing. In the end, Morgane gives Jessica the ladybug ring and asks how she found the strength to let her father back into her life. Jessica says it's simply how her mother raised her, to forgive, and leaves. Karadec then reveals that Nathan's heart went to another patient after all, which finally brings a rare smile to Morgane's face. I kinda feel bad for Rosemary. A woman calls the police about a murderer and begs for help, but before she can say much, someone presumably dangerous breaks into her house. Morgane arrives at the station, ranting about how her civilian consultant ID is basically useless. She just got pulled over for reckless driving and it didn't help her one bit. While she's venting, the audio from the woman's 911 call is played for her and Karadec. They head to the house of Reina Vieira, who flat out denies calling the cops. But Morgane recognizes her accent and quickly deduces she's the one who made the call, though her phone records don't back it up. Karadec finds no sign of foul play and tells Morgane to drop it. It's revealed that Soto is in the running for the captain position, which would make Karadec the next lieutenant if she wins. That, of course, makes Morgane nervous. If the hierarchy changes, who's she even going to be partnered with? Karadec soon gets a call that changes everything. He, Morgane, and Oz rush back to Reina's house. This time, she's dead. They speculate that she may have fallen down the stairs or been pushed. The cops also notice a string of missed calls from someone named Lucy. They head over to the house of a neighbor, Logan, who'd thrown a wild party the night before. As they question him, Morgane quickly pegs him as a drug dealer. He denies it, but she points out the subtle sticker on his mailbox, a street code that signals he's open for business. And that jittery guy hovering near the mail area? Yeah, probably waiting to buy. When Logan instinctively glances toward a drawer, Morgane knows exactly where the stash is. Busted, he bolts. But Karadec takes him down after a short chase. At the station, Logan insists he was only trying to help Reina, who relied on him for migraine meds. He calls himself the neighborhood's unlicensed pharmacist, helping folks who can't afford proper prescriptions. He admits he was with Reina minutes before the 911 call. She'd been showing him something in her basement. When Morgane and Karadec check the basement, they find an old cell phone, the same one used to call 911. So why did Reina deny it? Before her death, Morgane had questioned Reina about her cheap pots and pans. They didn't match her upscale home. Now, in the basement, they find a stash of brand new pots, suggesting she kept burning the old ones. That, combined with the migraine meds, which are also used to slow dementia, leads Morgane to realize Reina was showing signs of cognitive decline. Further searching reveals a blood-stained dress, possibly the trigger for Reina's belief that she'd seen a murder. But now the question is when the murder happened, given her dementia. Using the dress as a clue, Morgane works her usual magic. She burns a small section and identifies tensile fibers, which weren't available until 1985. Tags and clothing began appearing around 1971, and the symbols used for washing instructions didn't appear until 1998, which this dress has. But since there's no barcode or inventory number, it must have been made before 2000. Meaning, the murder Reina saw likely happened between 1998 and 2000. Even with that, there are still 200 open cases from that time frame, until they narrow it to shooting victims, based on what Reina described in her call. That leads them to the case of Greta St. John, a young African-American aspiring singer who was murdered in 2000. Oz and Daphne visit Eddie Friedman, who used to manage the Black Jewel Club, the same venue near where Greta's body was found. While Morgane and Karadec speak to Lucy, who tells them that Reina and Greta were rivals back in the day. Eddie reminisces about Greta's talent and plays an old audio recording of her singing. They also learn that Mac Epps, the current owner of the Black Jewel, used to manage Greta, but when she refused to reunite with him after his release from prison, he began harassing her. To get close to her, he started managing Reina instead. Both Lucy and Eddie confirm that Mac was dangerous and had a hold over Reina for years. Reviewing the case board, Morgane and the team piece together a theory. Mac Epps bought Reyna her house to keep her quiet about Greta's murder. Security footage also shows Mac Epps arguing with Reyna before she died. When they question Mac, he denies everything, but Morgane spots a star-shaped tattoo on his hand, the same one Greta had. That confirms they were romantically involved. Going through old photos, Morgane deduces that Greta gave birth to Mac's child and was likely trying to protect her baby from him. She concludes that Mac killed Greta and that Reyna witnessed the murder, getting her dress stained in the process. But Mac's arrest doesn't go smoothly. He refuses to go back to jail and takes a woman hostage. Karadec has no choice but to fire a shot to protect her, killing Mac in the process. This earns Karadec a visit from Internal Affairs. They are supposed to bench him pending investigation, but Karadec rants that the only reason they are just solving this case is because the LAPD neglected an African-American woman's murder, which makes the man let him off the hook. What's needed now is evidence that Mac Epps killed Reyna. They check his car, but what they find is a prison visit pass. Using the bird on his windshield, which is common to the Mojave Desert, Morgane determines the prison he went to, but it's a 2-hour drive, so he couldn't have killed Reyna. However, Morgane seems to know who it is as they visit Lucy. Lucy's alibi was a time-stamped picture of the Griffith Observatory, but Morgane uses the position of the sun and the sundial at the Griffith Observatory to determine the date on the pictures were doctored. Also, Reyna's dead body had a smudge at the back of her shirt, which was silver nitrate, which photographers use when developing pictures. Apparently, Lucy is the baby Greta had. She came to town searching for her mom but got real close to Reyna until her dementia started acting up, which made her drop clues about her involvement in Greta's murder. She went to confront Reyna that day, but Reyna got riled up and she accidentally pushed her. She promises that she didn't mean to kill the old woman and only wanted justice for her mother. Karadec arrests Lucy for her crime and provides justice to Reyna. Why are Season 2 cases so depressing? I think they are really working to see our moral gray area. All through the day, Soto had been hoping for the captain position, but she didn't get it, and everyone is supposed to act like nothing happened. But Morgane is not okay with this. She visits Soto and tells her she's allowed to be angry. If she doesn't want to express that to her cops, professionalism, Morgane isn't a cop, and she wants Soto to see her as a friend. Soto finally admits how angry she is that she got passed over because she's a woman. Morgane's leaving the precinct when she spots a strange man at the elevator. I thought he was hitting on her for a minute, but it's actually the new captain, Nick Wagner. Two boys fly a drone for fun near a pond, which leads to them accidentally discovering a drowned car and the dead body of a woman inside it. After Morgane tracks down Arthur, who's been ignoring her calls, and threatens to have the LAPD investigate his business if he doesn't hand over the bag Roman had him get, which he reluctantly agrees to, Morgane heads to the precinct, where Soto introduces the team to the new captain, Nick Wagner. Wagner claims he's not here to step on toes, but will be conducting interviews later on. As the team heads to the crime scene, Karadec and Daphne drop some tea on Wagner. He comes from a family of cops, a whole LAPD legacy. The body is identified as Tori Nolan. They couldn't match her ID at first until Morgane does. Turns out, Tori had gotten a lot of work done and never updated her ID photos. She's seemingly shot to death and drowned in the pond. Morgane finds a gun in the car and a key that points to a bar called Hula Hound and a storage unit. She and Karadec head to the storage unit rented by Tori, where they find multiple passports under different names and shredded pieces of paper. They also spot boxes full of information about different international cases, leading Morgane to deduce that Tori was an investigative journalist covering big global stories. Daphne confirms this, revealing she worked for a magazine called Takedown, known for exposés. Apparently, Tori always wrote under pseudonyms. She'd go dark during investigations, but would send a photo to prove she was alive. In the last picture, she still has her current nails on, and she's in the middle of the woods. Morgane clocks the poodle dog bush in the photo, a plant that grows where there's been a recent fire. The nearest burned area is the Cloud House, a content house where a bunch of influencers live and create nonstop. Based on Tori's fresh cosmetic work, Morgane figures she was undercover as an influencer to investigate the house. But the cops are confused. Why would a serious investigative journalist waste time on influencers? They question the residents, and the influencers confess that they killed her but panic when they learn she was shot. Turns out, they played a prank on her, a fake car explosion made with peroxide, dyed soap, and yeast. It was payback because Tori had stolen one of their protein powders called Live, Laugh, Lift, L3, that one of the influencers was supposed to promote. The prank got out of hand when the chemical reaction blew up more violently than planned. But since she was shot, Morgane and Karadec rule them out. Then Phineas, the head of the content house, who runs it like a dictator, drives up, spots the cops, and speeds off. Karadec instinctively tries to chase him, and Morgane bursts out laughing. Phineas is arrested using his car. He denies killing Tori, but Morgan spots corrosion on his watch, the same kind that would come from the peroxide used in the prank. He admits he moved the body to avoid trouble with the landlord, who already wanted to evict them. His alibi is that he was literally trying to buy bots to boost Tori's social media, so why would he be spending money on someone he planned to kill? Phineas gets booked for evidence tampering and offers up Tori's bag for leniency. The whole journalist exposing influencers thing still doesn't add up until they realize who made that protein powder. Robert Romano, aka Bobby. He's the same guy who cyberbullied Tori back in college. He and his friends doxed her so badly she had to drop out. Morgan and Karadec visit L3 to talk to Bobby. He introduces them to his operations manager, Lamar Vulpes, who is already acting weird. Ever since bullying Tori has been coming after Bobby, and it doesn't help that the guy is always selling fake stuff. He even went to jail for one. And the current protein powder he is selling is just some protein powder shipped from China that he slaps his packaging on. He was at the gym for leg day when Tori was killed, and when Morgan and Karadec ask for proof, he drags up his trousers to show his legs. He does have a gym buddy who can vouch for him though. Still, Morgan and Karadec aren't totally convinced. Maybe he had someone else do it. Karadec and Oz question Gavin Tillman, head of Serenity Arms, a halfway house for ex-cons that Bobby frequents. Gavin praises Bobby for being a good man but also says Tori threatened him at the L3 warehouse, vowing to send him to prison for life this time. That gives Bobby motive, so they head to his place, only to find him dead, apparently overdosed on a party drug called Dazzle Kitty. Morgan immediately calls foul. The soup in his sink tells her everything. Someone poisoned him and staged it as an overdose. The killer clearly wanted to close the case neatly. Bobby killed Tori, then killed himself. But Morgan doesn't fall for that. They intercept a shipment leaving the warehouse, and I thought for sure it was Lamar, but nope, it's Gavin Tillman. Turns out Gavin was running drugs out of Bobby's business and had linked Lamar with Bobby. Bobby wasn't the brains. Lamar handled logistics while working for Gavin. When Lamar got arrested, he folded and confessed, leading to Gavin's arrest. The illegal drug ring was what Tori discovered, and that's why Gavin had her killed. Now about Wagner, we can't quite read him yet. He's being all nice and supportive with the team. He has a weird talk with Oz that leaves Oz uneasy. Then he's encouraging Daphne to take the lieutenant's exam, even taking one of her lollipops. He later chats with Morgan, and she lays out everything she's already deduced about him. Is this gonna be another game maker situation? And I thought we agreed not to tell Ava about her dad's situation again. But nope, Morgan tells her about meeting Arthur, even though she specifically told Ava not to come because we don't know who this guy really is. Ava tracks her anyway and crashes the meet. She even convinces Arthur to drop the bag. When they get home, Morgan blows up on Ava. Ava doesn't back down though. She says her mom would have done the same thing, then hits her with, "You're not cool, just embarrassing." Whew. It's Halloween night, and 3 teens dressed in costumes enter the premises of a dilapidated and scary-looking mansion on a dare, only to end up witnessing what looks like a ghost in white committing a murder. Classic horror setup, except this one's real. After their fight, Morgan and Ava are not on speaking terms. The girl's been grounded for a week, and Morgan's back to burying herself in work. The victim turns out to be Danny Sternblatt, a high-profile divorce lawyer for LA's elite. Karadec brings up the white figure the kids saw, and Morgan just rolls her eyes at the ghost talk. She's here for facts, not folklore. But when they find heart pills scattered nearby, it looks like Danny's own body may have given up before anyone else did. They start digging. Danny was in the middle of his own messy divorce. His wife Lorraine is supposedly in London but heading back soon. Daphne and Oz show up, and Daphne, being a true crime and ghost podcast enthusiast, lights up at the name of the house. It's none other than the infamous Spencer house, home to the tragic Hollywood couple Maddie St. Croix and Dash Spencer. According to legend, Maddie took her life after discovering Dash's infidelity, and months later, Dash fell to his death from the same stairs on Halloween night. Locals swear Maddie's ghost killed him, and it still roams the place. The case of Danny's death seems to resemble the death of Dash, but it is seen by Oz as a mere coincidence. But when the sketch the kids made of the ghost comes in, it looks eerily like Maddie herself. Autopsy reveals that Danny died of a heart attack, but Morgan notices salt stones arranged around his room, forming a protective pentacle. It is deduced that Danny believed his house was haunted, hearing and seeing things which made him trash his house trying to find it. The working theory now is someone knew about Danny's heart condition and scared him to death. Since he couldn't do all the protection stuff himself, someone must have done it for him, and that someone could also be the one scaring him. They discover a spiritual person's card in his invoices, which points them to Calliope, his spiritual advisor, a self-proclaimed energy reader who talks about cold spots and crying women in the basement. Morgane clocks her as a con artist right away. She was milking Danny for cash, feeding his paranoia, but no evidence she murdered him. Still, the team heads to the basement, and sure enough, Karadec sees a white figure moving around. When he reveals he is a cop, the person bolts. It turns out to be a girl, most probably a thief stealing things from the Spencer house. Nick Wagner takes personal interest in the case, mostly because the mayor's friends are panicking. Danny handled a lot of their divorces, and who knows what secrets could leak. He interrogates Shauna Kermey, the ghost-dressed girl, who is revealed to be a CalArts graduate. Wagner seems to be really good at this, as he pretends he's going to give a statement that the girl had Danny killed, which means her lawyer would have to fight in court and the court of public opinion. The girl spills that she was hired by Danny's wife Lorraine, but Lorraine failed to mention Danny had a heart condition. Lorraine and Danny used to have a loving marriage till he cheated. And even though Danny got them the house because she has always loved it, Danny refused to relinquish it during the divorce. So Lorraine hired the girl to scare him out of the house, but he refused to leave. It's when she shows Morgan the love letters Danny used to write her, that Morgan realizes the handwriting doesn't match the note they found at the scene. Danny was poisoned by a potassium chloride overdose, which mimicked a natural heart attack. Oz and Karadec visit Danny's firm, finding his office filled with sketches of the Spencer house. And when Morgan compares the appraisal records, she realizes the house is smaller on paper than it should be, meaning there's a hidden room. She brings the whole team out. They stick pink papers to each windows to track where they've been, and from outside Morgan sees one window unmarked. Bingo. Inside, she retraces Danny's steps and finds the hidden door, a preserved time capsule full of Maddie Street Croy's things, including a diamond necklace Dash supposedly bought her after cheating. Turns out Danny found it. That's why he didn't give his wife the house. He was keeping it secret until after the divorce was finalized. That necklace alone, when appraised, is worth $10 million, $20 with the Hollywood tragedy attached. And now they know. Someone killed Danny for it. The next day, Wagner gives a press conference naming Lorraine as the killer. But then Danny's daughter Paloma, not Lorraine's, visits Calliope for a cleansing ritual, convinced her dad's spirit isn't at peace. Calliope agrees, gets alone time in the house, and heads straight to the secret room to steal the necklace, only to walk right into an LAPD sting. Morgan had clocked her earlier from the verbena scent she left on the jewels, suggesting she has seen and touched it. Calliope knew Danny's house was haunted, replaced his sleeping pills with potassium chloride to piggyback on the haunting. And since Danny used to give her haunting updates every day, the day he didn't, Calliope knew he had died. But the cops got to the crime scene before she could come take the necklace. She is arrested for murder, and Morgan returns home to her kids. Ava finally apologizes to her mom but points out they are just alike in a lot of ways, go-getter and strong-willed, but she promises not to disobey her mom again. The two finally hug, and Morgan shows her the contents of Roman's bag. There's a drawing from her recital, suggesting Roman has been watching over them for years, just without them knowing. There is a break-in at an art museum. Was this episode inspired by the Louvre break-in? Anyway, the guard notices something on the surveillance and decides to check, only to get knocked out by the thief. Next thing we know, Morgan gets a call from Arthur, who fears that someone might be following him. Morgan wants him to tell the cops, but nah. He does warn Morgan to be careful though. When Morgan and Karadec arrive at the museum, they find a Rembrandt missing. Morgan's disappointed because dispatch said it was a missing girl, and technically it is, just a girl in a painting. The artwork, worth about $20 million, belongs to the Foster family, who had loaned it out to the museum. Morgan immediately suspects the theft is personal. There were tons of higher value paintings there, but only this one was taken. To make things messier, an art recovery specialist named Reese flies in from Mexico City, hired by the insurance company that doesn't want to pay the Fosters a dime. He's all business, believes every theft comes down to money, while Morgan insists this feels personal. Instant friction. A dossier on the painting shows its long, messy journey, bought by a Prussian nobleman, then passed to a Polish businessman, and finally ending up with the Fosters. There were slags at the crime scene containing aluminum oxide, used to melt the museum's skylight glass through which the thief entered. Daphne finds 19 other cases worldwide with similar modus operandi. He's dubbed Jean-Baptiste, but Reese believes that's a myth. The thief has only been seen once at a museum where he attempted to steal a Picasso but was shot in the left shoulder, though no one saw his face. Daphne finds out that a man named Ari Wiseman filed a lawsuit claiming his grandmother is the painting's rightful owner. Her father was that Polish businessman, and the Nazis stole everything from them. She survived, but when the painting resurfaced, they couldn't afford to buy it back or prove it was stolen. Ari's fit was recently seen at the museum and immediately lands on the suspect board. Morgan would rather solve the original theft, the Nazi-era one, which would make them return the painting to the grandmother, then the museum theft, which means the painting would be going to the Fosters, but there's really nothing they can do about it. Nobody knows the Polish man, but they sure know this big museum it was stolen from. Morgan spots Reese getting a phone call and follows him to the elevator. Reese had said if the thief wants to sell the painting, he would be the one to be called, and Morgan guesses right that it's the thief calling for a meet. Reese wouldn't allow her go with him if the cops are gonna follow, so Morgan decides to follow Reese alone without telling anyone. The thief is a no-show, so they decide to check out the crime scene again. They head up to the rooftop where Morgan notices you can't see inside the museum from the outside, so the thief just burned the skylight without knowing where he would land. They are interrupted by the museum staff who gives an envelope to Reese, which contains a photograph of the girl in the Rembrandt painting. On the back of the painting, there are instructions for Reese to go to Woodley Park at 1 p.m. with $500,000 ransom money. Wagner really blows up on Morgan for going to the museum alone. What the helly? He has her removed from the case too. Angry Morgan decides to go for a drink with Reese where she trash talks Wagner all through. After, Reese opens up about his humble beginnings. Dad was a bin man. He clawed his way up, which Morgan barely hears any of because she's drunk. They move to makeout session, where it finally clicks to Morgan that Reese is the thief. He's got the left shoulder gunshot scar. Karadek and Nick decide to go to the ransom meet, where Karadek's silence makes Nick reveal why he yelled at Morgan. He needs to know where his people are at all times to be able to protect them, though he says it's the same for all his team, but you can't help but think it's more on Morgan. Is he in love with her or something else is going on? Karadek's righteous-than-thou ways ruins the meet. He decides to break their cover by stopping a guy attempting to steal a car, even though Nick told him to let it slide. Their cover is blown, and the thief manages to escape. They give him a chase, but Nick and Karadek suck at working together that the thief is able to flee. The case gets blown wide open when a body appears at the museum. Who is dead? Well, answer's gonna be in episode 8. Earlier that day, Morgan had given Roman's backpack to Soto for forensics, and Ava, who cannot wait to see what they find, is told to calm down by her mom. She's playing dress-up with her mom's clothes when she sees Arthur's card in her jacket. She decides to call him wanting to know more about her dad, but Arthur suggests doing it properly, through her mom, maybe a lunch altogether. But that meet is likely not going to happen, because Soto finds the print of an unknown man in Roman's bag, and that same man ambushes Arthur in his car, demanding the backpack. That's it for High Potential Season 2 first half. See you January for the second half.